but it wasn't Darlow's day.
Darlington's promotion challenge got back in track against Nationwide League new boys Cheltenham. Craig Russell's superb cross finished clinically by Paul Campbell, making his first start of the season. Russell could have made it 2 when he took over from Lee Nogan, probably just as well he shot wide. Cheltenham have now lost 7 games, all 1-0.
Tomorrow night. Last night there was plenty of action closer to home. We start our 3rd Division roundup with another important win for Darlington. Everyone knows about the Sunderland exiles at Darlington. Well, 3 of them were involved in the Quakers' first goal. Marco Gabbiadini to Craig Russell, his shot beating Michael Ingham, who's just left the Stadium of Light to join Carlisle on loan. That was right on half-time. It was only Ingham who kept the Cumbrians in the game for so long, but he was beaten again within 2 minutes of the turnaround. Gabbiadini following up to knock in his own rebound. Cue the dancing girls. Yes, Feetham's isn't like it used to be. The points were in the bag from the moment defender Peter Clark decided the best way to stop Neil Heaney was to wipe him out altogether. Out came the red card and Carlisle were down to 10. Just to rub it in, Gabbiadini curled a free kick past the wall and in at the far post. 3-0. And if it hadn't been for Ingham, it could have been an awful lot more. As it was, Carlisle nicked one back near the end through Paul Harries. 3-1 the final score, but with the results going their way, Darlington moved back into 2nd place.
Darlington maintained their promotion challenge at home park, though Adam Barrett and Chris Hargreaves gave the Quakers a scare midway through the first half. After the break, Darlington came close to opening the scoring, but Plymouth dug deep, and much to the frustration of Darlow, a goalless scoreline beckons. They may have won against Carlisle, but their shooting boots were left at home. David Hodgson's side nearly lost it near the end, but it finished 0-0. Darlington 3 points off top spot.
Eventful ties of the round. Darlington, Division 3 promotion candidates, pulled rank with Steve Tuttill's header. Second half, identical goal, different team. Phil Bolland with Southport's equaliser. A bit hard on 17-year-old goalkeeper Keith Finch on at half-time for his debut. The game turned again with a Marco Gabbiadini free kick. Handball spotted by referee Steve Baines. Gabbiadini, too seasoned a campaigner to lose his nerve, scored from the spot. A free kick offered Southport an escape route, but note referee Steve Baines raised arm. The indirect signal, no goal. The former professional turned ref explained the rules to players who should have known better.
There was an impressive midweek crowd at Feetham's, and they were rewarded with an impressive performance by Darlington. Marco Gabbiadini led from the front. His first goal was quality. Wait till you see his second. That came later after Neil Heaney had made it 2-0 with a peach of his own. Goalkeeper Ashley Bays just couldn't keep them at bay. 4,532 was the attendance. They were treated to 4 high-class goals, especially Darlington's third. When you're 2-0 up with 20 minutes to go, well, why not? Gabbers with the outside of his right foot and a fair slice of cheek. He's on 11 goals for the season. Leyton Orient scored a consolation goal 4 minutes from the end, and the Darlington fans won't mind that even that was a good one. Arnett Berkovic with the overhead kick. 3-1 to Darlington. The Quakers are 3rd in the table and unbeaten at home.
The Quakers underachieved at Underhill and lost at Barnet for the 3rd season in a row. Manager David Hodgson reckoned his men were unlucky, though. They had plenty of chances, but Barnet had their moments as well. There could have been goals at either end before half-time. In the end, one was enough to settle it. The Darlington defence should have had the situation under control long before Scott McLeish ghosted in and hit the net. It meant Barnet somersaulted the Quakers near the top of the table. Friday night out at Feetham's, and the Quakers fans were rocking early doors when Marco Gabbiadini went round Neville Southall and got them off to a flyer. Darlington are good at home, so the writing was on the wall for Torquay. But Torquay didn't read the writing. They grabbed a point when Wayne Thomas headed home. The defenders thought he was doing some pushing, but in fact there was just a whole lot of shaking going on.
Gillingham provided evidence of a gap between those in the second and the best in the third. Guy Butters, who once played at Tottenham with the likes of Ardiles, Hoddle and Mavitt, gave Gillingham the lead. And Robert Taylor then scored twice to make it 17 for the season. This eagle-eyed view of his first highlights the sort of bustling, determined success which has heightened Manchester City's interest in recent weeks. But that strength was in direct contrast to Taylor's second, scored at close range from Brian McGlinch's corner to effectively assure Gillingham their continued interest in the competition. Peter Duffield's reply did give Darlington 35 minutes in which to mount a complete recovery, but they couldn't.
The Quakers' promotion bid hasn't hit top gear yet because they've struggled away from home. It was the same story last night. Swansea missed a few sitters and they kept Darlington keeper Mark Samways busy. There were no goals at Vetchfield last night, but 2 red cards. The Quakers had Steve Tutil sent off, a Swansea player followed, still a point to point.
Heard the joke about Darlington and away goals? Well, David Hodgson's side hadn't scored away from Feetham since August, till Marco Gabbiadini had the last laugh firing past former Darlington keeper Mark Prudo after just 9 minutes. His joy turned to despair when he was sent off for a second bookable offence 10 minutes from full time. The Quakers were soon cruising to a 2-goal lead, Neil Heaney with a delightful volley from the 25-yard mark, capping a fine first-half display. But into the second half, referee Paul Taylor awarded a controversial penalty, which Neil Tolson coolly converted. Darlington seemed hard done by, but they managed to cling on.
And third division Darlington made FA Cup history today when they were named the competition's lucky losers and handed an away trip to Premiership Aston Villa in the third round. In the briefest of draws, their number was pulled out of the bag among the 20 teams that all lost their second round games. Darlington were beaten 3-1 by Gillingham last month, but due to Manchester United's decision not to defend the trophy, Darlington will now go to face Aston Villa in 10 days' time. Let's join our correspondent Paul Newman, who's in Darlington. Paul, over to you.
Well, yes, Hugh, the celebrations are well underway here at the Blackwell Grange Hotel, just a stone's throw from Darlington FC. And they can hardly believe their luck. This is the furthest they've been in the competition for 40 years. Well, I'm joined by the lucky chairman, George Reynolds. George, good evening.
Good evening.
Just tell me how you heard this news, because you didn't even watch the draw yourself, did you?
No, I didn't. I was sat in the office and I was having a conference with some Swedes and some Danes over some business with a colleague of mine, a partner in the dock, Billy Morgan. I was sat in there. And all of a sudden we sat through this conference into serious stuff with draws, and all of a sudden the door burst open. Now a lot come in, start screaming and shouting. I thought we're being mugged.
This was the players telling you they got...
No, it was all our staff. They were delighted, you know. And a bit of a shock, really, but I thought it would happen, you know.
Have you touched the FA Cup? Because this is the original FA Cup.
I know.
First award in 1911. This is probably the closest you're going to get to it in reality, isn't it?
I don't know. We'll keep it for a year, I think. With a bit of luck.
Now, you've got here because of Manchester United's absence. Any particular thanks to them?
Yeah, we've sent them a fax, thank them very much, and when I see Alex Ferguson, I'll buy him a prawn cocktail and a T-bone steak. I think he's done a wonderful job for us, and I want them to now really appreciate what he's done.
What does it mean, though, for the club? It's not just revenue, is it? It's the profile of the club.
It's a profile, you know. Darlington deserve it. They've had a hard job over the many years, you know, they've struggled. They've had people come in and raped it and pillaged it and walked away, and I'm the first ever to come and put money in it, really. I put £5.5 million in, you know.
Briefly, realistically, can you beat Villa?
And we look back on a great night for Middlesbrough in just a moment. But first, football history was made today.
It was indeed, Mike, yes. Darlington are back in the FA Cup. Spot of luck there. The Quakers thought their dreams of Wembley were over when they lost at Gillingham in the last round. But now they're planning for a trip to Premiership giants Aston Villa after becoming the first team in Cup history to get a second chance.
So just why are Darlington back in the FA Cup, and just why was Chairman George Reynolds snuggling up with the famous old trophy today? This is why.
Number 14.
Number 14 is Darlington.
The Quakers got the first ever wild card in today's draw. Since last year's winners Manchester United opted not to play this time round, there was a spare slot for third round day. Darlington are the lucky losers.
Wonderful, isn't it? We're going to keep it. We'll have our breakfast out in the moment. We'll put a punch in it. We'll all have a good drink.
Let's say thank you to Man United, first off. Let's say thank you to whoever drews out the hat. And let's say thank you to the fact that George Reynolds is here, because whatever he does, wherever he goes, cameras follow him and publicity follow him, and it had to be us at the end of the day.
A money-spinning tie at Aston Villa is surely the greatest reward ever given to a team for losing a cup tie at Gillingham. The manager admits to mixed feelings on hearing the news.
I'm probably the only manager who could stand here and say I didn't want to be in the goddamn thing to start with, apart from Man United, because I know the importance of what the league is here. it's not my job on the line at the end of the day if we don't win the league. I mean, that's been made clear, but the bottom line is the expectations of the players who we signed on the strength of the players we had last year, and to say that we fell short only by 5 points last year, the importance this year was to get up, because the fans expect it, everybody else expects it. So I didn't want us to be having these cup runs.
The strange thing at Feethams is that no one was that surprised. George Reynolds said he knew they'd get it. He was in great form at this afternoon's press conference, so he can have the last word. How will Darlington fare at Aston Villa, George?
I'm not saying we'll win, but if we lose, fair dues. You know, there's nothing to be ashamed of against Premier. But if we win, God, it's going to make the rest look sick, isn't it? Realistically, I see the Premier Division couldn't beat Third Division Darton, so really we should switch places immediately, shouldn't you? We should go up to Premier, and they should go down to Third.
They couldn't be warmed up for next week's cup tie at Aston Villa in fine style. Their promotion challenge is bang on target after a thumping win over Halifax.
The clock may be ticking before their FA Cup money spinner, but no one was looking past Halifax on Saturday. It paid off. Marco Gabbiadini soon put the Quakers one up from the penalty spots. If the players had Aston Villa on their minds, they weren't showing it. Darlington's second came once again from a spot kick. Same place, Michael Williams again the culprit, and it was that man Gabbiadini who fired home his second of the afternoon. Not to be outdone though, goal number 3 came from former Manchester City winger Neil Heaney. His inch-perfect shots came 2 minutes before half-time. And Heaney turned goal provider for Darlow's fourth when his perfectly weighted cross found Peter Duffield, and Halifax were down and out. So 4-0 up, and Gabbiadini pushed for his hat-trick, but only the post denied him this time. Shame he's suspended for the cup tie at Villa Park.
They might be lucky losers in the cup, but nothing fortunate about Darlington's biggest win of the season in difficult conditions. 2 penalties in 11 first-half minutes turned the match. Michael Williams pushed Paul Higginbottom for the first. Marco Gabbiadini used the blasting technique. And when Williams tripped Neil Heaney for the second spot kick, Gabbiadini changed tack. Different method, same result. A 2-goal lead certainly warmed up the fans in the freezing northeast, and 2 minutes from the break, they were positively roasting. Heaney with the cracking drive. Under fire, Aston Villa boss John Gregory must be hoping he won't do it again in the cup on Saturday. A second-half goal glut looked likely, but they managed just the one, through Peter Duffield. Even so, they're now clear favourites to win the Third Division title.
Brown swings into action, and I'm already looking forward to joining the thousands of Darlington supporters tomorrow as the lucky losers head for Villa Park in search of glory. You'll have to watch Look North, sadly, on Monday to find out how we get on, and of course to see how all our Premiership teams have shaped up after their first run out in the competition. In Darlington, the excitement's been mounting all week as the lucky losers prepare to make FA Cup history at Villa Park. When the Minnows run out to take on Aston Villa's Millionaires at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, over 4,000 Quakers fans will be there to cheer them on. Their colourful chairman, with tongue firmly in cheek, has already agreed to give Villa a chance.
The thing is, I think they'll have the work cut out with us, and we've put a couple of reserves in to help them out. I don't want to see a draw, I'd like to see a win. But they've got a good team, you know. You've got to remember they've got about £41 million in the pitch. We've got about £1.20. It's a big difference, isn't there?
Right. 4 of our teams dreaming of silverware, Simon.
Yes, Mike. And for the first time ever, one team has a second chance. So next time you're in a pub quiz and there's an FA Cup question you're not sure about, put down Darlington.
Yep. Let's face it, Darlington are going to be knocked out of the FA Cup twice in the same season. But for now, they're back in the competition and up against Aston Villa.
It's fantastic. These opportunities come along, you know, and the big man upstairs decides for you to have it. It's good, isn't it? Isn't it really good? I'm very excited about it, you know. I'm so excited about it. I could scream from the rooftops. And if we win, I will.
Darlington were knocked out the first time by Gillingham, and the manager was quite prepared to concentrate on the league.
I didn't want us to be having these cup runs, and obviously Gillingham when we got beat down there, but we played very well down there, and the result didn't reflect the performance. But I was very proud of them and pleased with them the way that they'd done the job. But once it was over with, I said, right, that's it, get out, it's out of the way, let's concentrate now. And then all of a sudden, bang, it comes back to us and says, you know, I'm sorry, but you're still in the FA Cup, and that's the hard bit for me.
Darlington's owner is a former safe blower. The hard bit for him was letting go of the cup at the protocol.
If I'd been back to my old days and I hadn't been reformed, I'd have kept it.
So, George... not, unfortunately.
OK. Now, enough of winners for a while and on to lucky losers. One trophy Roy Keane won't be lifting this season is the FA Cup. Darlington probably won't either, but their chairman, convicted safe-breaker George Reynolds, has been given the get-out-of-jail free card. Their tie against Aston Villa will net them about £250,000. Not bad for a club about to become an FA Cup quiz question.
It's a familiar third division story, knocked out of the cup before Christmas. But Darlington's story is different. They went down to Gillingham. Their chairman was once sent down for safe blowing. But Darlington have cracked the code and broken in through the back door. Now they plan to make a clean getaway. It's almost a game they can't lose. They're guaranteed the reward money after playing the get-out-of-jail card.
It was very good for me. If I was starting my life again, I'd get the biggest breeze black code. I'd sling it straight through a jewellery shop when I get myself locked up because I couldn't read and write or nothing when I went to Kirkham. And I was in there with people, influential people, like there was a lot of people doing time, like solicitors, bank managers and accountants. And you look at these people in general, the only difference between them and me, they do it with a pen, I done it with a stick of gel and a crowbar.
Now he's a chipboard tycoon. George Reynolds UK has made its owner worth more than £250 million, which he enjoys spending.
I do like to get about now and again, I do, but I never seem to get holiday, you know. Every time I go, if I even go on holiday, it always ends up business, you know. I'm a workaholic, you know. I'll start work at 7 in the morning, I finish about 8 or 9 at night, and the only switch off I really get is going to the match. I just love going to the game, you know. I do put a lot back into the community, you know. I put a lot in for the little bit I've had out. Altogether, I'll put 20 million. I know I'm going to blow it. But, you see, what I love about it, with this, you create employment.